still trying to get through this board meeting, and I guess we're on the resolutions now.
Board, as you know, one of the key services we have been providing over the last few years is a series of shuttles that were originally funded by the Jobs Access Reverse Commute program of the Federal Transit Administration, and we were the conduit for those funds to those local shuttle services. In the last Transportation Act, that program, JARC, was eliminated. The funding was shifted to the 5307 program that, again, we administer and are the recipient of. And all of the activities that were included in the JARC program are eligible now under 5307. So the money and the eligibility moved to this new funding category. So really what we're doing is beginning to catch up. We did have some JARC funding that was available that we have been using up over time for these services. So we have drawn that down to the bottom of the barrel and now are in the need to move additional funding to continue these 5307 accounts. And that's really what this resolution does. To the board president's note, we got it right in 2 of the 3 places in the original resolution. The total accumulated contract is $1,111,098. That adds, this resolution would add $300,654 that would be divided between the Grovelink service and the Tualatin shuttle. Again, that total that's in the financial budget impact table is right. The number that was originally down in the final line in that, which was 1.9 million, should have been 1.1 million. Just that was the one correction we had. And so there's a revised resolution and a staff report in your supplemental packet. Again, this is one of really 4 important shuttle services that we provide. We provide evening or off-shift service to Swan Island. Grovelink, which is incredibly popular. Mayor Truax of Hillsborough can't say enough good things about it, and everywhere he goes, he does. So it's very nice. Tualatin Shuttle, again, supplements the service to the industrial area in Tualatin that our Tualatin-Sherwood Road line now provides as well. And the North Hillsborough Link, again, very important for some of the new employment areas in North Hillsborough. You've heard a lot about the employees at Reesers who had to change location and needed this access. So this continues to be very important for many of those employees. So with that, be happy to answer any questions, but do recommend your approval at the revised number.
Well, that's something you don't hear much about is those shuttles. I wonder why you don't hear anything about them, really. You never hear Trimet talking about this, except like a situation like this.
All right, so just for the record, so the resolution, what we'll add to the contract is the $300,654?
Correct.
Okay, all right. And then the total is $1.11 million. Right.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Does that help you with your $500,000? All right, good. Is there any further questions then on this item? Yes.
Yes, just quickly. So the source of the funding has changed from JARC to Section 5307. Is there any question about those funds coming through, or any issue about the federal source of those funds?
It's sort of the broad conversation we had earlier about the delay of federal funds. So there was potentially some delay because of the partial appropriation of Congress this year. But these are funds that come out of the Highway Trust Fund at the federal level, so we believe they're assured. Well, maybe a timing issue, but no real uncertainty about them appearing when Congress appropriates them. I hope that answered your question.
It could come out of Trimet's pocket before it comes from the federal government.
Well, we actually, as Dean noted, we do have some. What would you call it? Restricted funds available related to grant proceeds moving ahead.
By saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion is approved unanimously. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the final resolution of the day, which is Resolution 17-04-36, which is authorizing a contract with Ride Connection to provide volunteer and community-based transportation services. Mr. Gentleman.
Board President, members of the board, by way of background on this, I wanted to just step back a little bit. And when we entered this decade, maybe I think about a decade ago, Trimet was seeing, frankly, unsustainable growth in the lift service. We were seeing growth in lift service up in the teens on an annual basis. As you know, that is amongst our most expensive services per ride. And we realized that we needed to find a solution to some of the financial challenges that proposed. So we undertook, I think, what was one of the most successful strategies that we've had as an agency over a period of time. But let me sort of talk about a three-legged stool that we had related to addressing those challenges. Again, never a silver bullet, but one was to institute in-person assessments, and so our lift assessment facility was opened, and we began the gradual process of both new and recertified lift riders making sure that they're eligible for these really important services. Second, we added additional travel training so that we made sure lift customers were aware of the alternative and the benefits of using the fixed route service that was available to them. And third, we began to contract with Ride Connection and expanded those services so that alternate lower cost services were available for those people who needed them. And again, we recognized that Ride Connection could do a number of things that we couldn't. First of all, they could hire and use a lot of volunteers to provide some of those additional services. They could use lower cost vehicles. They could use, they could look for leverage opportunities with grants and private donations. They could coordinate with social service organizations on a very individual basis. So out of all of that, I think, again, we've seen lift ridership grow somewhere between 1% and 2%, 3% on an annual basis. So a much more sustainable financial model has resulted in that. And I think really key to that is this contract.
Well, it's an interesting concept. It almost sounds like it's a union-busting concept in some ways, because they're trying to get out of paying people wages.
With Ride Connection, which has allowed us to support their efforts to provide those lower cost alternatives to make sure that people had an efficient way to meet their needs. That includes everything from medical appointments and other services to shuttles for senior centers around the region. So again, this contract is a base year contract of amount of about $2.4 million. Half of that will come from our federal program 5310, which is dedicated to seniors and people with disabilities. The other half of it will come from the Trimet General Fund. Again, this is envisioned as a 5-year program, so there's a base year contract and the options to extend for additional 4 years, so that total is about $13 million, anticipating some cost of living or CPI sorts of increases on the contract overall. Again, I think Ride Connection has been a very admirable partner in this regard. This is a sole source contract because there is no other organization like Ride Connection that really brings those leveraged resources and that history and the training facilities for volunteers, as well as the opportunity to leverage other social service agencies and private donations. Again, I would just note to you that we're often asked about the model of Ride Connection because so many other regions would love to see this kind of a function in their communities as well. So again, a great partner for us, and with that, pause for questions, but certainly.
I don't know what to think about that really. I guess it's all good, right? Ride Connection. I guess if they didn't have them, people wouldn't be getting any rides. I don't know. I'm always, you know, they can spend billions and billions and billions building light rail lines that aren't really needed, but they have to get really cheap when it comes to providing actual services to people. You know, well, we can't pay we can't pay the drivers the wages needed to take these people, and they don't want to use the lift because they're getting union scale, so they come up with this alternative. I don't know. I mean, it's half from the Trimet fund and half from a federal, so what the hell, right?
Recommend your approval.
I have a question.
Please.
Neil, as a board, are we being asked to approve a 5-year contract or a 1-year contract?
5-year contract, so it would be a 1-year base with options to renew for the additional 4.
And it's predicated on that 5310 funds will continue to be
Yes,
available?
yes.
For that?
And again, these are
Earmarked for?
yeah, exactly. So each year we can evaluate exactly where we are on all of that.
Thank you.
And also, I might add, it has to be part of our budget that we authorize every
Okay.
year. So,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of checks there in this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just that you don't have to bring it back to the board.
Right.
If all of the things line
If everything
up for 5 years.
closes, yeah.
Yeah.
Woman is fairly new. I'm not sure when she came on, as a matter of fact. It hasn't been long, but she's kind of an interesting character, isn't she? She's been asking some actual questions. I mean, she's like interested in knowing what the hell's going on, I think.
Okay.
Other questions? Then is there a motion to approve Resolution 17-04-36?
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a second?
Second. I'm the second.
All right, you're the second. Any further discussion on this? All right, seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion to approve Resolution 17-04-36, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, the motion is approved unanimously. Thank you very much. And again, I might add, Ride Connection does do a wonderful job. So glad to see them be able to be a partner with us to provide those services. So that concludes the resolutions for consideration this morning. So we now are going to move on to our ordinance, which is Ordinance 345, which relates to proposed service changes. Mostly all of them are additions to service as a result of our new revenues available for investment. So I'm going to turn now to Trimet General Counsel Shelley Devine for the second reading of Ordinance 345 by title only.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. Ordinance 345 of the Tri-County Metropolitan Transportation District of Oregon, adopting service changes, updating route designations, and amending Trimet Code Chapter 22. This is the second reading.
Thank you, Shelley. Mr. General Manager, do you have any comments in addition to the last month's and earlier presentations on this?
I would just note that we've had a lot of public involvement on this and a lot of public comment. You certainly heard some more about 162nd and the desire, first of all, the appreciation of establishing the route, but the desire to add additional service to it and span both hours in the evening and on weekends. And again, as I noted, we will take a very hard look at that and report to you about when the timing that we see that as achievable. But I would just say overall, I think that this is a very well-balanced plan. Again, one of the larger service increases we've seen. It comes on the heels of, I think, a very healthy increase last year as well. Establishes 3 new routes. 162nd is one, the Allen, the Beaverton Transit Center to Washington Square to Tiger Transit Center, Allen, Shoals route is another. And again, another route that really is a piece of a former existing route in the Gresham area. We also continue to see some good improvements in some of our existing services. So there's always a wish to do more, and I think that's good. It's part of our message to the legislature about funding, and indeed we will continue to focus on where those investments can do the most good in terms of both ridership and meeting the needs of our residents. You've had very thick reports of all of the comments we've gotten on this, as well as the Title VI report, which, Mr. Board President, you may want to reference. But again, I think we've reviewed those plans with you now probably 2 to 3 times, so I'll stop at that point and ask if there's any questions for either me or our service planning staff as we move ahead.
Well, you know how I feel about this particular item. I mean, it's great that they're increasing bus service, adding new bus service, but I've always been an advocate for filling in the holes of the current service. There's substantial holes in the current service that they're not addressing. They don't talk about it. It's expected to be functioning like that. You know, they don't have enough backup operators. I've always said you need at least 10, preferably 20 backup drivers for routes that break down, for routes that get ridiculously late, for trains when they screw up, when the MAX shuts down. But they don't have that. They have like 3 or 4 extra drivers. And you know, I've always said that until they get serious about making public transportation efficient and really truly reliable, they're going to be just spinning their wheels forever, because they're only going to get people that need to take it, because it's not. Why would you want to take transit when it's not even running reliably? I mean, if one bus breaks down, you could wait up to a half hour for the next bus, and all it takes is to be not picked up once or twice, and people are not going to put up with that. Why would they? When you can get your own car, which you can get in any time you want, and it takes you to where you are. Until public transportation in this country actually makes the focus on, let's make this service truly reliable, service every 10 minutes, backup service for when things don't go wrong, 24 hours. I don't see anything positive happening in terms of the use for the actual riders. I mean, it's great when they expand bus service, certainly better than expanding the rail service, which is definitely not needed.
Questions? I see none. Well, with that, I mean, we have spent some time on this over the last few months. So, so for the board, I think we've seen the outreach that's been done to the potentially affected communities of these policy changes and service changes. The board's also seen and heard from the community members through various commenting channels, including last month's public hearing. The board was briefed on the equity analysis at its February meeting, and we then had a chance to review it again last month's meeting, where you indicated approval of the findings. So
equity analysis.
So with that, I guess I would ask us if there's any further discussion on this. I'm seeing none then. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a second? With that, is there any further discussion, questions? Well, with that, this is a roll call vote, so Ms. Devine, could you please call the roll?
Director Prosser.
Aye.
Director Bauman.
Aye.
Director Bethel.
Aye.
Director Warner.
Aye.
Director Simmons.
Aye.
Director Esmond.
Aye.
Ordinance 345 passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. And it's nice to see increases in service, and it's nice to see the community wanting more. And so I think we're going to be able to.
Warner is so full of shit, man, isn't he? He's really skilled at this.
To provide that in years to come. So good work on part of the staff to come up with a comprehensive program here. So,
you know, I just want to point out whoever came up with the, I don't know, page 26 of the analysis, where it lists out the buses, and they list out in 4 categories where you can go and get back from. I think that's going to be very helpful to a lot of people, especially in the next 2 months. So.
yeah. All right. Well, that's all that's on our agenda that's for consideration today. Is there anything else the board or staff indicates we need to take care of today?
I just have a comment, and it's just my perception. It may not be shared by the rest of the board. But the actual resolutions that we receive, I know that the report is part of the history of the resolution. It would be helpful to me. And
Could just be another whereas, I assume, in each one of them that actually reflects the dollar amount.
See, yeah, right now they say in excess of
Right, exactly.
$150,000,
Well, I see what you're
in
saying.
excess of $500,000. And to me, I keep going, okay, and then I keep going back and forth. And
Right.
it would be helpful to me in looking at it in long term is to have it be part of the actual signed resolution.
So maybe I could ask staff to look at that a little bit and come back with a recommendation. Tell us if it's a good idea or a bad idea.
Yeah, maybe a
And,
bad idea. It's
yeah.
just that.
Well, and I would say personally, I like the idea.
Okay, well, so you're hearing some folks here. So why don't you come back with us with a recommendation on that? We can I'm not looking for you to make the change for the next meeting, but after that, maybe we can have a little dialogue about it in your next general manager's update, all right? Thank you.